I won't go deep into the exact members of Team A. You can check my first world-building beginner guide episode. In RE1, the main cast basically splits into two groups Y2. First, RE1 uses a dual protagonist setup. Unlike RE0, where both leads are together the whole time, RE1 has two separate story routes led by two different protagonists, and their passive abilities are very different. Chris has only 6 inventory slots, but he's more agile. His key companion is Rebecca, who can help in emergencies. For example, if Chris is poisoned by a snake, he collapses and can't move. Then you briefly control Rebecca to fetch serum and save him. Other than that, you barely get to control Rebecca. On the other hand, if you choose Jill, she has 8 inventory slots. She can also pick up a grenade launcher, and most importantly, she can pick locks. So a lot of things are simply easier. But Storylocked must find the key parts still follow the rules. Overall, because Chris has fewer slots and no lockpicking, his route is generally harder than Jill's. Now that the protagonists are covered, let's talk story structure. Even with 2 routes, about 95% of the content is the same. The real differences are mostly dialogue, even though Capcom says there are multiple endings. It sounds deep, but it's basically 5 characters total. And the multiple endings are just different combinations of who lives and who dies. The gameplay route itself doesn't branch enough to make anything feel missing. Alright, enough talk. Let's get into the plot. After Team B goes missing, Wesker leads Team A by helicopter to the Arkley Mountains. While circling overhead, they spot Team B's crash site. One detail I didn't mention last episode is this. After the crash, Team B all went out searching for Billy. But the pilot, Kevin Dooley, stayed behind to fix the chopper as their escape plan. When Joseph checks the cabin, he finds Kevin's body torn to pieces by zombie dogs. Before he can process it, the dogs rush out of the shadows at him. Bandana Guy gets shredded on the spot. Meanwhile, Wesker, Chris, Jill, and Barry fight while retreating into the mansion hall. Here, if you pick Chris as the protagonist, Jill splits up and disappears within 5 minutes. If you pick Jill, then Chris, who was pushing the front door with you, somehow gets locked in the basement, waiting for Jill to rescue him. It's honestly pretty wild. Like another mystery trap situation. I'm not going to overthink that one today. Also, someone will ask, Team A had 6 people, right? Now we only see 5, including Joseph. Where's the last one? That would be the other pilot, Brad Vickers. He stayed in the helicopter, waiting for Wesker's orders. But once he saw the zombie dogs, he panicked, took off, and ditched everyone. Peak coward energy. Okay, inside the mansion, after opening the second door, we hit a legendary moment. The guy killed by the turnaround zombie is Kenneth Sullivan, the last of Team B to reach the mansion. The earlier Team B arrivals were Forrest Spire, Richard Aiken, and Captain Enrico Marini. Let me quickly summarize what happens to them. Forrest arrives first and realizes something is very wrong. He gets chased, badly wounded, and hides on the balcony while bleeding out, setting up his gun to cover anyone coming after him. But the wound is too deep. He soon passes out and dies in a balcony chair. You can find his corpse in Gamind. That's not even the end of it. When you turn to leave, he comes back as a zombie and chases you. So you have to put him down with a headshot. Next is Richard Aiken. He shows up more in this game. First you meet him after he's bitten by a giant snake, and you rush serum to save him. Where he dies depends on which protagonist you choose. On Chris' route, he exists to show how brutal the mutant shark is. You open a door and basically watch him get swallowed. On Jill's route, he sacrifices himself to cover Jill and gets swallowed by the giant snake. Either way, he leaves you a fast-firing military shotgun. The 10-shell kind way better than the starter shotgun. Then there's Captain Enrico. Your first meeting is in the underground mining area. By then, he's already learned the truth and Wesker's real identity. But while being hunted by Wesker, he's wounded in the leg and can't move. Just as he's about to tell you everything, a cold shot from around the corner silences him instantly. At this point, Team B is down to only one survivor, Rebecca. Meanwhile, on Team A, aside from Joseph dying right away, the other 5 are still alive, which says a lot about their strength. As usual, let's quickly outline the route through the game. You enter through the front door, solve puzzles inside, then roam the nearby forest, check the back facility, collect keys. Typical re-stuff. After clearing the mechanisms, you activate the elevator in the backyard pool. That elevator takes you into the Arkley laboratory. There, you finally reunite with Wesker, and he stops pretending, openly admits he's a spy. While talking, he's also hammering away on the keyboard, and the new Tyrant specimen breaks out of its tank and enters the fight.
The ultimate life form. Tyrant.
Wesker, you've become senile.
Chris, you'll never understand. It's magnificent.
Inaudible. Compared with the prototype Tyrant in RE0, this one is heavily improved. You can see it even in the last episode. The prototype T1 had obvious exposed organs and tons of rotting tissue. Its intelligence was also questionable. By contrast, T2 looks much more finished, and with some intelligence it can carry out more complex tasks. Most importantly, its claws look more practical than T1's, less oversized and clumsy. Its speed and power fit Umbrella's requirements. And the really nasty part, the T2 can power up. Once it powers up, its speed and attack spike hard. One swipe can send you flying several meters. Ridiculous. We fight our way from the underground lab to the surface helipad. And we also activate the facility's self-destruct on the way. Even dumping magnum rounds into it doesn't do much once it powers up. But then something big drops from the sky. Not a bamboo polio rocket launcher. One shot and the T2 gets turned into meat paste. Please ignore Rebecca's cursed gunfire sound. Now the question is, where did the rocket launcher come from? Turns out Brad, the guy who ran off at the start, grows a conscience and contacts the team again. And at the critical moment, he throws them a rocket launcher and saves everyone. They escape the mansion before the self-destruct timer hits 0. When you think about it, his good outweighs his bad barely. And that's basically the end of RE1's main storyline. RE1 is mostly puzzles, there isn't that much plot on the surface. But hey Race, the big question. Did Wesker really die? Anyone who knows the sequels already knows. Wesker did not die here. What? A claw that thick through the stomach and he still lives? Yep, he lives. But the proof of how he revives and escapes is not in this game. You need the 2007 Wii title, Umbrella Chronicles. Man, Eve been recording forever. Umbrella Chronicles is basically a recap of major events in RE history, and it fills in missing details that only a select few know. You revisit the broad stories of RE0, RE1, and RE3, and you also get CG scenes that never appeared in the main games. Most importantly, it includes original story content about Umbrella's Russian branch. That original plot is brief because it involves a lot of characters, and most of those characters have shown up in RE. So explaining it now would only confuse everyone more. It would just make the timeline messy. So I'll save it for when we get to Resident Evil 5. Now, let's look at what Umbrella Chronicles adds to RE1 specifically. What information we never got from the main game. What exactly did we miss in the original RE1? First, the overall flow, including the extra chapter, is basically the same. The big difference starts right before the lab confrontation. A few minutes before Chris Group meets Wesker on Lab 4. Pause here, see that syringe? Yes, before the real fight starts, Wesker has already injected a mutated progenitor strain. Then people ask, why a mutated progenitor strain instead of the T-virus? That ties into a major event revealed later in Resident Evil 5. For now, you only need to know this. Wesker's injection is part of one of Umbrella's big plan, Spencer's plan. And Umbrella has a whole bunch of people named Weskermen and women. If someone perfectly bonds with the mutated progenitor strain, they gain superhuman abilities. And then Spencer uses them for the next stage of his plans. If they can't bond, they either die or are crippled. And they're effectively removed from the Wesker Project. Without medical support, they don't survive for long anyway. After the injection, we get some dialogue, and then Wesker gets impaled by the Tyrant. All of that matches the main game until the next segment. Now, hey Race, what's different? The impaled Wesker gets back of his wound fully healed. That means he successfully bonded with the mutated progenitor strain. This is the key divergence from the original. Wesker rises from the floor, and the injury is completely gone. It's basically instant regeneration. So Yesha fused successfully with the mutated progenitor strain, and he's officially superhuman now. So before the facility explodes, he rushes to copy data from the computers. He tries to download everything he can, but the system says the combat data from this fight has already been uploaded to the UMF-13 server. It's already transmitted to UMF-13. In other words, at the same time, Wesker's high-level access is revoked by the Red Queen. His mainframe privileges are removed. So what exactly are UMF-13 and the Red Queen? First, UMF-13 is a data server. It's an AI for Umbrella's asset control and employee safety. UMF-13 is essentially part of Red Queen's backbone. From here, Umbrella Chronicles sets up Wesker heading to Raccoon City to seize UMF-13. He's going to Raccoon City to take that server. And the owner of this supercomputer is an Umbrella executive, Sergei Vladimir. Well, save the rest for when we reach Resident Evil 3. But another question comes up. Sergei is an Umbrella executive. Why would he stop Wesker from copying combat data? In Wesker's report included with the RE1 remake, we learn that after years of repeated experiments, Wesker never got a direct answer from Spencer, and over time, he became rebellious. Also, while researching the T-virus, William developed the G-virus. That made Wesker realize he couldn't compete with William in pure research. So he requested a transfer out of R&D and got placed into Umbrella's Intel division. Wesker wanted to uncover Spencer's true intentions from that position. Later, S.T.A.R.S. Raccoon City is formed, and Wesker becomes captain, secretly serving as Umbrella's spy inside the RPD. When the Queen Leech begins retaliating against Umbrella, Wesker also realizes Umbrella's collapse is coming. So he starts making contact with Umbrella's rival organization, meaning, even if he got the BOW combat data at the end of RE1/Umbrella Chronicles, he wasn't going to hand it to Umbrella, was going to give it to the rival group. He was already planning to defect, and Sergei, who always had a backup plan, already knew Wesker was betraying Umbrella. That's why the story makes it clear Sergei is countering him. In that same opening chapter, Wesker and William separate. And when they escape the executive training facility, they fight Sergei's Ivan-type Tyrant in insane battle. That shows Sergei is genuinely loyal to Umbrella. Wesker is simply the one who got greedy. He developed bad intentions, plain and simple. And after dying and coming back, Wesker gains superhuman powers from the mutated progenitor strain. After escaping the mansion, his next objective is to seize the UMF-13 supercomputer in the underground Raccoon City lab. That's the next move on his board. So after all this, you can finally understand why Wesker lets the Tyrant impale him in front of his teammates at the end of RE1. He was gambling betting Head become superhuman, and letting Chris and the others witness his death. Once he's dead, all those identity restraints are gone. Then he can work with the new organization in secret and dig into Umbrella's deeper schemes. Side note, that organization also includes a fan-favorite character, Ada Wong. The RE1 remake even has some Easter eggs and story bits about her. And that takes us back to more than a decade earlier. When Marcus, the Queen Leech, was developing the T-virus, Spencer exposed him to the board for using young executive trainees at the facility as test subjects. Marcus was then removed as director of the Arkley laboratory, and William took his place. Years later, William gains favor after developing the G-virus and transfers out of Arkley. Wesker also moves into the Intel division. Then a man named John becomes the new lab director. There's no photo and not much written about him. In-game, what we find is his letter to Ada, not really a love letter, more like a last message. So what happened? At the time, Ada, working for an organization opposing Umbrella, is assigned a mission to get close to John, the Arkley lab director, and try to obtain a virus sample. She approaches John and they get close fast. But right as she's about to succeed, the virus leaks, everyone in the lab gets infected. John is infected too, and he dies soon after. With the place that dangerous, Ada gives up on breaking in for the sample. When we enter the Arkley lab in RE1, some electronic doors are locked and require a computer login to open. The account is John. The password is Ada.